Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
The earth is in the process of transformation. A separation, such as when a cell divides. Half will remain in the third dimension, the old earth, where there is conflict and violence. The other half will ascend to the fifth dimension, the new earth, where no negativity can exist. All across the world, there are internet content creators that are sharing new information to raise your consciousness and prepare you to ascend to the new earth. Join me, Naima Latif, every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Time, and we will introduce to you these voices of enlightenment. Grand Rising. Thank you all for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Voices of Enlightenment. I'm Naima Latif, and I'm always so thrilled to share information because that's what I do. That's my purpose. All of us came here with a purpose. All of us came here with a goal. All of us came here with a plan. Now, the question is, how well are you executing that plan? Now, if you've been to school and you planned your semester, you planned what courses you were going to take, and you know you had certain classes you had to take in order to graduate. So you plot out what you're going to take that semester. Now, you know, if you don't pass one of those classes, you have to take them again. And if you have a lot of classes that you haven't passed, well, then you don't graduate to the next semester. And if you have a lot of semesters like that, well, when it's time for you to graduate, you are left behind. That is, in a nutshell, what the Earth experience is. It's a school, and it's a very tough school because you have to learn things in a way that makes it challenging. And we've given this analogy before of if you're playing pin the tail on the donkey. If you ever played that as a child, and the way it works, there's a big drawing of a donkey taped to the wall. And the only thing that's missing is the tail. And the tail is detached and it's got a thumbtack in it. And what you have to do is go and pin the tail on the spot where the donkey would have its tail. Now, the problem is you can't see where you're going because first you're blindfolded. And not only are you blindfolded, you're spun around so that you don't even perceive which direction you should go in. So you're walking blindly and you just got to try to pin the tail on where the donkey would have its tail. You have to try to pin the tail on the donkey without being able to see where you're going. And then, of course, after you have felt around and you finally get to where the wall is, then you just try to guess where it would probably be based on where you remember. And then you pin the tail. Now, of course, you don't get a chance to see how close you came to the right spot until after you've pinned the tail. And then, of course, you step back and you take the blindfold off. And then you see, and sometimes you may have been way off. And it's always funny because guessing where to go when you can't see is part of the game. Well, that's the game of Earth. You're guessing all of these things and you're trying to figure out how to take these classes that you've signed up for, but you can't remember that you signed up for these classes. You can't remember what your goal was. You can't remember any of those things because the game is like you're blindfolded, you're veiled, you were walking blindly because your memory has been wiped clean. In the birth process, that's the agreement. You come into this experience blindfolded. You don't know why you're here. You don't know what you came to learn. So how do you pass the class when you don't even know what you're learning? That's the game. Past life regressionist and hypnotherapist Dolores Cannon explains this very detailed experience in a lecture in Washington, D.C. back in 2008, a classic lecture that opened the eyes of many. The question is, after someone with the skills of hypnotherapy has regressed thousands of people who explain that they discover this after they are regressed back through the death experience and they recall that moment when the blindfold was taken off and they could see the mistakes they made. They're remembering this. And just like in the game, of course, it's a game. There's no punishment. You simply know where you went wrong. So in explaining this school of earth where you're here to learn lessons even though you're walking blindly, Dolores Cannon explains that there's no punishment for your errors. It's understood that you didn't know, but the whole point of this experience is for you to learn. And you have an eternity of time to learn. However, you don't want to keep going on and on and on over the same lesson. Today, we want to share with you the 2008 lecture by Dolores Cannon, because many people are holding on to old belief systems that aren't allowing them to progress. Dolores Cannon's work helps to uncover many of the mistakes that we keep making, and one of them is a belief in hell and punishment, when in fact the purpose of these experiences that we all chose, just like you choose the classes that you're going to take each semester, the purpose of these lessons is to learn. And Earth is a school in which you learn how to love by experiencing the absence of love. That's the challenge. And sometimes in the process of experiencing negative things, you may make decisions that are hurtful to others. So the lesson of the Earth School is to learn how to love without judgment of others, how to forgive, how to love unconditionally, because this is what is a true reflection of the divine energy of creation that we call God, or whatever name you call that energy that is all things and everything. So in order to learn this lesson, you agree to this experience of being blindfolded and having these experiences. And then when you come back after this semester is over, you get to see where you made your error. And just like when you take a class in school, if you don't pass it, you get to re-enroll and take it again. What we're not taught is the re-enrollment process, reincarnation, coming back into a body, not the same one, but a different experience, a different set of circumstances to see if you can learn that lesson again. It's really fascinating. And it makes sense when you understand it. What is challenging is that much of the family of Earth has been indoctrinated in a belief system based on punishment if you get things wrong, punishment if you make an error, punishment by the Creator if you fail to learn that lesson in love. Does that really make sense? Well, we're going to give you an opportunity to listen to a lecture that Dolores Cannon shares in giving us an insight on what happens at the moment of death and when you cross over. And if you've been one of those people who did awful things, what really happens to you when you finally realize that you have left this reality? What happens next? Well, let's take a look at it, and then we'll come back and reflect on what she said and if it makes sense to you.
So once you get over there, you're met with great love. There is no hell. There isn't. I've done thousands and thousands of cases. There is no hell. Hell is an invention of the church, and you can see why. It was never in the Bible. It's something has been invented. There is no hell. A loving God would not do that to people. You are allowed to make all the mistakes you want. You're allowed to come back and do it again and again till you get it right. They don't punish you just because you make a mistake and throw you into an oven. It doesn't work that way. You have to realize you have made mistakes. Earth is a school, but it's a school, you come here to learn lessons, but it's a school where you can't skip a grade, but you can have to repeat a grade. You don't get it right. You have to come back and do it again until you get it right. You can't go from kindergarten to college. It's impossible. You have to learn the lessons, and the lessons are not easy. Earth is a school where you learn emotions and limitations. Those are the two main things, emotions and limitations. Those are not taught on other planets. This is a very challenging planet. So you come here to learn these things, and it's all important lessons. I tell people, everyone has bad things that happen in their life. That's life. But what did you learn from that bad thing? If you learned even one thing, that was the reason for the experience. If you say you didn't learn anything, you're going to have to come back and repeat it again, the same circumstance. It's all teaching us something. And that's what it's all about. It's not easy. Life is not easy. The problem is, when we come back, we don't remember what we came for. So I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, once you get over there, I have found 3 different places that you can go to. Now, you go to the place that you are tuned to by your vibration and your frequency, because you can't go to anything else. You have to be vibrating at that frequency. And as you become more advanced, as you learn more, each time you die, you'll go a little higher and a little higher. Different places over there, because of the vibration and frequency will match as you grow. You don't want to keep what I call the wheel of karma. You just keep going round and around and around, making the same mistakes. You're not going anywhere. You're not advancing. You're not doing anything. You're just playing the same old game again and again. That's what we have to get out of that rut. So the 3 places that I have found, it's the lower astral, is what I'm going to talk about first, the lower astral. And of course, all these places are divided into many other compartments, also depending on your frequency. The lower astral, I don't think anybody in this room is going to have to worry about. Those are those people who we might consider earthbound. They have lived in such a negative life that they don't realize they can go anywhere else. All they know is life. And these are like the ones who are the murderers, the drug addicts, the alcoholics, the ones that are, they just don't want to come out of where they are, the very negative people. When they die, they don't know they're dead because they think they're still alive. They don't know anything is going on. And they're so confused because they have died in this kind of condition that they keep trying to get back into bodies, which you cannot do. I have found there is no such thing as possession, there is no such thing as demonics, because the soul is protected solely by a shield. But they will try. And you can be influenced if you're drinking or if you're on drugs, you can be influenced by these kind of entities. But see, they don't realize they have died. And what they're trying to do is get the same sensations they had through osmosis, hanging around people who are drinking or who are on drugs or who are killing people in back alleys, trying to get the same sensations and pleasures they had when they were alive. Well, the greeter, the one who's supposed to take them on, is there, and they're shaking their heads saying, well, when are you going to get here? No, I'm here. You know, you're supposed to go on. But they get so involved in it. But after a while, it's like, this is boring. I can't get the same sensations. I can't do it. I can't get back into what they thought they were supposed to get into. It's boring. There must be something more to it. At that point, they look around and they see the one who has been sent to take them on. They said, are you ready to go now? And so they'll go with them. And they're always met with great love because they know they just went down the wrong path. And all they have to do is they have to go to schools, they have to take lessons on that side so they can be ready to come back again. You come back too soon, you're not ready because it's that negativity will carry over. So that's the lower astral. And I don't think anybody here is going to have to worry about that, but you should know it's there. The middle astral is, I think, the equivalent of what the churches call heaven. It's very beautiful, it's very wonderful. They've all described it the same way, that there's a beautiful lake, there's hills around the lake, and all kinds of houses. If you decide your idea of heaven is to live in a house just like you just left, or maybe one that's better, maybe you want to live in a castle, you can have it. Your idea of what is the best, what is your idea of heaven? That's where you will go to, what kind of a house. If you decide you want to spend eternity living in this house with your friends, your relatives who have died, that's your idea of eternity, you can have it. That's what the churches usually talk about as heaven. It's extremely beautiful. There's music in the air. They said the colors are so vibrant that some people who have had near-death experiences bring back that memory of the colors, especially the flowers. There's huge gardens, and the colors are so extraordinary. You've never seen anything like it. And they remember when they come back from near-death experiences, they say even the molecules of the plants and things seem to be vibrating for a while after they get back because they have that memory of the colors in their mind. And I asked them one time, is that an imitation of Earth, our plants and flowers? And they said, no, Earth is a very poor imitation of what's over there. If you could imagine flowers that never die, roses that are always perfect, that is what it's like over there. So it's extremely beautiful. So they go and they're living with their relatives, doing everything they ever wanted to do, and this idea of a perfect heaven. The only problem is, it doesn't last. That's not the way it is. What are you learning if you just had it perfect forever? So after a little bit, a knock will come at the door, and they'll say, okay, you ready to go up and do the review of your life? And they'll say, what do you mean? I'm perfectly happy right here. I don't want to go anywhere. This is heaven. I don't want to go anywhere. So said, no, it's not the way it works. You've been here for a little while, but now we got to move on. So they take them up to the review board. And there are boards, there are elders, there's masters. They can't tell you what to do, but they're there to advise you. So you go up and look, and they're going to show you your life. They show you everything you have ever done, every word you've ever said, everybody you have ever touched or hurt or anything. And believe me, this is not easy to look at. They're showing it very objectively, but they don't show it just from the viewpoint of you looking at it. They show it from the perspective of everybody you were involved with. You begin to see it from their eyes, from their viewpoint. And believe me, that hurts, because all of a sudden they'll say, I didn't know I hurt them like that. I didn't know what I said affected them that way. Because, we do that. We go through life. We don't pay attention to what we're doing to people. But over there, you see it. And you see exactly what you've done and exactly the way it affected the other people. I think if more people understood this, we'd be kinder to people, knowing it's going to come back on us. Because you don't put yourself in their position. But if you see what you have actually done to that person, then suddenly you say, I've got to repay this. This is what's karma. I can't let this go by. I have to do something to repay what I have done to that person. So then you talk to the other soul. You'll say, well, we didn't do such a good job, did we? And we ought to go back and do it again. This time, you be the husband, I'll be the wife. You be the mother, I'll be the child. Because you can switch roles around any way you want. It doesn't make any difference. It's all play anyway. It's just a game. It's all play. I've had people go through the death experience, and when they're up on the other side looking down at it, they'll say, it was just a play. I see all the actors in the wings getting ready to come on and play their parts and put on their costumes. It didn't mean anything. But they said, when I was there, it was so intense. It was so much emotion. And I was in the middle of all of this. But they said, from over here, it's like the blink of an eye. You can look at it from two different things. We get caught up in the illusion. These are the things that are important for people to know about. And it is just a game, just a play, but we're playing different parts.
We're playing different parts. Now, this is a lot different than what our religious beliefs, much of the indoctrination that people are living with, the punishment, heaven, hell idea. People get stuck there. And if they really study the teachings of those who created the foundation of whatever faith they follow, they'll discover that they've been taught these principles. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, you're going to feel what you did to them. And all of the things that people have revealed to Dolores Cannon during hypnotherapy sessions, during past life regression sessions, where she took them through the death experience and they remembered. There are now thousands and thousands and thousands of them all over the internet where people have had the near-death experience, but they've described that very same review process. And they've also described how they saw things from the point of view of others. And as she said, if you could see how you're affecting people, you would be kinder. Now, this is that class that we keep failing. The class is how to love unconditionally, how to forgive, How to love people without judgment. That's the class that we're taking. And we get a chance to see how well we did. And then, as she said, we realize we made errors. And because these bodies are just temporary costumes, we can switch roles. And as she said, sometimes two souls may have had a very difficult time. Maybe one was an abusive husband, maybe one was a suffering wife. So they say, okay, well, next time you be the husband, I'll be the wife. And let's see if we can, first of all, I'll have empathy for that role that I am playing, and you'll have empathy for my role. And then perhaps we can get this whole love thing correct. There are some couples that may have had life after life after life together, and they somehow cannot mend that hurtful thing between them. And so eventually they choose to just stop playing the game. And Earth is a school that you can take a pause from and maybe spend a semester doing something else on another planet, another experience, and then come back to it. And we've had people who shared that experience. But the whole purpose is to graduate from this very tough school. And once you master love, then your soul is at another higher level. And that's the whole point. Just like if you go to school and you graduate, well, now you have passed that course. You can re-enroll and you're at a higher level. Maybe you got a bachelor's, now you can get a master's. You're at a higher level. And you can go perhaps to a planet and have an experience among people who are loving and kind and wise and cooperative, because that's where their souls are. They perhaps mastered this experience. But you can't move on once you enroll until you've mastered love. And so each experience gives you an opportunity. And when you make a mistake, there is no hell. You simply get to see where you made your error. Now, the question is, with all of the people all across the internet, you can look up near-death experience, all the people that are sharing their experience and what they learned and how they learned that there is no hell. There's only realization. With all of the people sharing this experience and the teachings of Dolores Cannon, which have been examined by many different podcasters, channelers who are bringing forth information even from those from beyond our realm. With all of this information, the question is, why are people choosing to still hold on to old religious belief systems in which they're believing that their group is better than others, therefore they don't have to treat other people well? God doesn't like those people, so why should I? Why are they holding on to those beliefs when in fact it's that belief that will cause them not to pass this course and have to repeat this grade again? Why are they choosing to hold on to that which will make them fail? Why are they choosing that? That's the question. And feel free to give us your thoughts on that. Why are people choosing, with all of this information, to help them understand what this earth experience is like? That's like if you were playing that game, Pin the Tail on the Donkey, and before you pin the tail on, you get to lift up the blindfold, and so you can see. And of course, you're going to pin it on the right spot because now you can see. Well, all of these people sharing this information is giving you that peek into what you previously could not see and therefore made errors. Why are you choosing to still walk in blindness? That's the question. We're going to take a quick break and come right back, and we'll take some of your comments. I'm Naima Latif, and you are watching Voices of Enlightenment, and we're hearing Dolores Cannon as she shares some insight from her experiences as a hypnotherapist, taking people through the death experience so that they can remember what actually happens after you die and why you may need to keep coming back so you can get it right. We'll be right back. We're going to greet our global family joining us from all around the world, and then we'll be right back. So stay with us.
We are global transformers, changing the world from the way it is to the way it should be. We are one. Wherever we live on this earth, we are one human family. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to extend a greeting to all the members of our family, whenever and wherever you may be listening around the world. To our family in China, Ni Hao. In India, Namaste. In Japan, Konnichiwa. In Korea, Annyeonghaseyo. In Russia, Zdravstvutie. In Germany, Guten Tag. In Poland, Dzień dobry. In France, Bonjour. In Spain, Hola. In Italy, Ciao. In Egypt, Ahlan wa sahlan. In Ghana, Akwaba. In Nigeria, Peleo. In South Africa, Sawubona. In Senegal, Nangadef. In Kenya, Jambo. In Israel, Shalom. In Pakistan, Afghanistan, Palestine, and Saudi Arabia, Assalamu alaikum. Greetings, and may peace be upon you all. Join us live on the on-air radio network called 727-731-5192. We want to talk to you.
Yes, we do want to talk to you. We want you to talk to us too. And we're going to bring up some comments from those who are watching, and you are watching live. Voices of Enlightenment. I'm Naima Latif, and we are committed to sharing with you information from those content creators all across the world who have as a mission to enlighten us in this time. It's time for the family of Earth to graduate. We've been doing this for too long. Staying on this wheel of karma, continuing to do harm to others. We're not learning. The one we know as Jesus is one of many teachers that have chosen to incarnate in order to enlighten, in order to open the eyes of people who were stuck on this cycle of mistreatment of others. That's why this is such a tough school, because you come here blindfolded. But when someone gives you the criteria, they tell you that the whole purpose is to love your neighbor as yourself. They tell you this. Why are we choosing not to do that? It's simple. It's very simple. But so much of our belief system is based in fear. Fear of other people, mistaken understandings, belief that there's not enough of the earth's resources to share. And so believing that we have to fight each other, and not realizing that the earth is plentiful and will give us whatever we need. We just need to give the earth some love. The earth gives back, and there is more than enough. There's an abundance of all that's needed. All we have to do, what do we say all the time? All we have to do is share. Why are we not learning that? So we keep failing in the earth school, and we have to keep re-enrolling over and over and over again. Why? Well, let's take a few comments. And our sister Zelda from the Higher Learning Network says, wow, what a wonderful lesson to learn. This enlightenment It's for the masses who are stuck in indoctrination mode. Thank God for this Earth School. Yes. And the fascinating thing about this Earth School is that, as Dolores Cannon says, this gives you an opportunity to elevate your soul. It's just like if you take a hard course in school. You have to really study. You have to really apply yourself. You have to concentrate on what you're doing. But after you've passed that class, wow, you're so much more intelligent, so much smarter, so much more knowledgeable. So it's worth it. It's worth it. But it is challenging because you have to really apply yourself. But what happens when you elevate your soul? Now, the ones that we know, Buddha, Jesus, those who have been known as master teachers, Krishna, those who are elevated souls. And because of their teachings, people were inspired to strive to follow their example. These are elevated souls because they have mastered love. And so, just like someone who has graduated a course, you're now qualified to teach it because you have mastered it. That's who these beings are that choose to incarnate in order to set the example. This is what it looks like when you have mastered love. This is how you behave. This is how you handle situations. This is what it feels like. So the master teachers who have incarnated on earth came for that purpose of reaching back and teaching those who haven't quite got it yet and are still making the same errors and need to see how they are affecting people so they can choose to try to get it right in the next enrollment. But you don't get punished for your errors. You get to see how they affected people so that you can choose to correct it. That's what this school is about. And Zelda also says, wow, the option to return and correct your mistakes with others. Who knew? What a wonderful life we have and don't even know it. Thanks for sharing such truths. Now, it's very likely that the people who are giving you grief in this life, you all planned to have this experience together. You are souls who may have reincarnated over several lifetimes. And I think I shared this in another episode. There's a friend that I have in this life. We had a very intense situation in a previous life. And so we chose to come back in this life and address that. And I did something hurtful to them in the past life. And so we chose for them to do something hurtful to me in this life, to give me an opportunity to forgive them. Because that's what my soul needed. I needed to be able to forgive. And so we're learning lessons. But now, generally, you're not really allowed to remember a past life because it could interfere with your life plan in this life. You don't want to be holding on to grudges from lives past. That's just like that time you killed me. Well, that could be an interference if you remember those things. But as Dolores Cannon says, you look at it, it's like it's all a play. We're doing these things, but this isn't serious. But when you're in it, it's very serious because you're feeling all the emotions. And Zelda says, we can wake up now. Awesome. Yes. Now we can awaken. And that is what these times are about. Awakening. Because many of us are ready to graduate. We're We're in this for the last time. We just got to clear up some things and we can finally master love. And then we can go on and do some other things. We can go on and experience some other things on other planets, other places, because it's all an eternal learning experience. Life is never over. Life is an ongoing experience of learning. This school is one of the toughest ones because of the absence of a memory of what we planned and the people that we planned it with. So it is challenging, but Earth is growing weary. And this is why the Earth is dividing. Now, I'll give you an analogy of what happens. And some of you may have had this experience. A school might be getting ready to convert to, maybe it's going to become a magnet school. Maybe it's a high school that's had a lot of flunking students and low performing. So it's going to transition to something different and only going to allow high achieving grammar school students to enroll. Well, before you can make that transition, maybe they're going to remodel the school, maybe, fix the walls that have graffiti all over them and repair the plumbing, do all this stuff, fix up the whole building. And then they're going to start a new enrollment. That's kind of what's happening with Earth. So before you can change over, sometimes you have to get rid of you have to let all of the ones who are bad performing, you have to let that class of students graduate. Maybe you don't have any more. And I saw this happen, I think, with King College Prep here in Chicago. Before it became a college prep, they had to let the previous classes all matriculate out. And then when that last graduating class was ending, the new freshmen, those were the high achieving elementary school students coming in as freshmen. So it's a whole different school. High achievers, college preparatory, different kinds of classes, higher involvement, and therefore the school itself had transformed. It was no longer a school with the fights and the suspensions and the expulsions and the violence and flunking, because different kinds of students were attending. The school was now a magnet school. So the splitting of Earth is like that situation. Those souls that have mastered love, they don't need to keep fighting and arguing, and they don't need to be selfish and watch people suffer. They understand sharing. They understand the abundance of Earth is for all. They understand love. They understand respecting one's differences. They are going to the new Earth where no negativity exists because they have mastered this. And that's why many of us are remembering and being allowed to remember certain things, so we can remember that our mission here is to evolve to that higher level so we can matriculate out of the old Earth and attend the new Earth where lessons are different, because we're not learning how to love through the absence of love. We're now learning other greater cosmic lessons. But the people who are still stuck on fighting, hating people because they look different, hating people because they speak a different language, hating people because they got a different religion, not wanting to share their things and letting people suffer and be poor and hungry and not have a home and all that. People who still are stuck there doing those things, they need to stay in the old Earth so they can keep learning those lessons, keep learning what it feels like to hurt people. Every time you go through the death experience and you see what you did, and you go, oh, I need to fix that. So you keep working on it, but it's still the challenging school. You still don't remember. So eventually you have to learn. You have to choose to love. And when you finally choose to love, after you no longer want to keep experiencing how you hurt people, then you're ready to ascend to the new earth. That's what this experience is. There's no hell, there's no damnation, there's no eternal punishment. There is learning through repetition, just like you have to repeat a class that you keep flunking until you finally study and finally pass the tests, finally master the course, then you can move on. That's what this experience is. So any belief system that's not allowing you to advance is something that's not in your best interest, and you need to let it go. Any belief system that's making you believe that it's good for you to not like certain people because they're different, or judge people and treat them badly because they're making mistakes, that's not helping you to advance, because you're going to see how your treatment of them hurt you as well as them. You're going to see it when you get to the other side. And so this is why it's so wonderful with the internet. People all over the internet are sharing near-death experiences where they are seeing, A, there's no hell, and B, you experience how you treated people from their perspective. You feel how you made them feel. And you come back from that near-death experience not wanting to harm anybody ever again. You still have to struggle through things, but you understand what the objective is, and that's different. So if we're wise, we'll strive to master love, and we'll understand that people who are in our lives challenging us, maybe they've done something hurtful. The challenge is for us to forgive. The challenge is for us to have compassion. The challenge is for us to love them anyway, as opposed to doing something bad to them. I'll get them back for what they did to me. And then when you get to the other side, you see what happened to them that made them the way they are. And then you have a chance to perhaps experience what they experienced that made them the way they are. I'm going to take another short break and come back and bring you some more of Dolores Cannon as she teaches about the death experience and what you learn in the Earth School. We'll be right back after this quick break, so stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be right back, so just stay with us.
Brother, in which we're doing this documentary for Douglas Robinson, your death will not be in vain.
He was a heck of a great dude. And I love Doug. Doug loved me.
Just being around him, he had a good spirit. He was a healing person.
They are there.
Get SROs back.
When you give to the poor,
should not be forced out of their neighborhoods when it goes through a period of transformation.
Because there are too many people who are losing their homes to taxes because they can't pay a $1,000 tax bill.
Have you seen all the solar farms popping up everywhere? You know, the big fields with the solar panels. There's one in our community. They produce electricity using the clean energy of the sun to send to the power grid to reduce our energy costs. Because not everybody can get solar panels put on their roof the way I have, but everybody can enroll for free to share the energy produced by the solar farms. That's why they were built. You know you're supposed to be getting a 10 to 20% savings on your bill for that, right? Illinois has a goal to transition by 2050 to 100% clean energy. So everybody needs to be connected. People in other communities are already getting their savings. So I'll be by to see you because they want to make sure you get your savings as well. It just takes a few minutes. I'm Naima Latif. Call me if you have any questions. 312-849-3456.
Yes, call me and send that information. Now, that's a good deed that you can do because you want to rack up on those good deeds and help people who are struggling with homelessness. And by helping, you can raise your vibration and you can help our sister Zelda in the Higher Learning Network to continue to help those who are unhoused. So the information is right there on the screen, and we invite you to participate in something that is helping those in need. And when you help others, you are helping yourself. So we are going to continue on, giving you some more insight from Dolores Cannon as she reminds us of a certainty that we're all going to experience because we're all going to leave out of here. This is just a very temporary experience we're having. But when we get to the other side, that's when we see.
You have a body, you are not a body. This is just a suit of clothes, I call a costume, you put on to play this part at this time. The next time around, suits of clothes, no matter how much you attach to them, how much you like them, they are going to wear out. You have to eventually throw them away. And when that happens, you just get another suit of clothes, another costume to play the next part that you're going to have to come back and do again. So you have to make these plans and you have to make your contract with these people. Okay, let's go back and let's do it again. Let's try this time. Sometimes they've gone through a series of lives with the same people making the same mistakes again and again and again. And it's finally time to tear up the contract and say, it's not working. Let's just forget about it. We tried, but it's not working. So this is what happens in the middle astral. The upper astral is my favorite place because I love knowledge. I'm so curious. I love research. I want to know more. The upper astral is where the schools are. And the Temple of Wisdom complex is my most favorite place. And you got to remember, in my work, I've heard hundreds and hundreds of people describe these same things again and again and again. If they all describe the same things without knowing what the others have said, to me, that gives it validity because it's like a scientific experiment. But they describe the Temple of Wisdom complex. It is composed of many different parts. They're like huge temples. They look like Roman temples with the big pillars. Well, one of the parts that they talk about is the healing temple. And I was told I could do a great service to people to let people know about this because you don't have to die to go there. You can go there in meditation. You can go there in your dreams at night to the Temple of Healing. And they showed me long lines of people lined up. They've just died, and they have to go to the Temple of Healing first, like a cleansing, before they can go on to where they're supposed to go. And as they come in, there's always a guardian of each one of these parts. And the guardian of the temple, the greeters brought the person in. They take the person into the center of this dome-shaped room. And the top of the dome is full of beautiful stones, every color you can imagine. And the light comes down. It is just beautiful, shining down on the floor. And the person stands in the center of this and is bathed in this beautiful light. And what it does, it takes away any residue of anything that you've gone through, maybe the death or anything you've gone through in that life. It just washes it all away so that you can go on to where you're supposed to go. But they said if people wanted to go there and be healed, they could also picture it and go there at night, because they said they can tell the ones who are not dead. They see the silver cord trailing behind them, and they know that they're there for a different reason.
Wait, her dog lived twice as long as mine is expected to?
Top three. Sorry about that. So now that is one of the things that if we knew, if we understood the power that we have, even in our own conscious mind, to actually visit a place that is in another realm, then we would begin the process of learning how to meditate so that we can visit a place that exists and be healed. Now, there are a number of people, such as Louise Hay and others, that speak of how our physical illnesses are a reflection of our emotional state, our psychological state, often emotional trauma that manifests in the physical body, because the cells in our bodies are affected by our emotions. So if one has been through a lot of trauma in life, that's a residue that you're carrying when you leave. And Dolores Cannon speaks of course, not reincarnating too soon after a life experience, because you're still carrying that negativity and that needs to be washed away. So you can start fresh. And there are a number of experiences all over the internet where young children have come back and they still have a memory of a past life traumatic death. And that memory is there with them in their earlier childhood years, and they finally let it go, maybe the age of 5, 6, 7 years old, but maybe early, 2, 3, 4 years old, they're still remembering a trauma because they came back too soon after a death experience and still have the residue of that trauma. These lives are quite fascinating. Truth is much more fascinating and much more helpful to know than fiction. So if we're choosing to hold on to a belief system that causes us to see others as unworthy of love, and therefore we're not going to love them, or they're a sinner and God is going to punish them, and we're still holding on to that, we're choosing not to grow and advance. We're choosing to stay stuck on this earth school where the way you learn love is to experience not love. And if we want to graduate, we have to let go of old belief systems that do not serve us and our advancement. We must choose that, and then we'll experience something different. So Dolores Cannon is one of those teachers. Thank God for the internet. It enables you to continue your mission, even if your physical body is no longer here. And we're grateful for all of those content creators who have created information that inspires, informs, and enlightens us. So may we continue to listen to these voices of enlightenment. Thank you for watching today. Reflect on what you learned and begin to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Come on back tonight for the On-Air Daily News Hour. And until that time, continue to shine your light. See you next time.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, zhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.